Coming up on this episode, I talk about the idea of my 5 to 10 rule and how it can play onto your life. How looking at life in the immediate and then stepping back and looking at life more long term can really help you put your whole life into perspective and direct where you want to go in life. So let's get into it. What's going on, beautiful people? This is the Perspective Chasers podcast, and I'm your host, John. On this episode, I want to share with you my 5 to 10 rule. Now, it's going to take me a minute to get into, so bear with me, but I promise you, this is an understanding that I've gained so far, well, recently in life, but I've put a lot of thought into, and I think it rings true, but by all means, let me know on your experiences and let me know how much truth you think there is to it. But the 5 to 10 rule basically is most people, they base their ideas or their life around the last 5 to 10 experiences they have in varying degrees in life. I'll give you a couple of examples. So if you was to wake up late one day, you'd go, oh cool, I woke up late. If you woke up late 5 days in a row, you start to call yourself lazy. Your opinion of yourself changes. If you used to do it 10 days in a row, that opinion starts to solidify and you start to see yourself as lazy and other people will start to see you as lazy. That's just a simple scenario. If you have a bad day at work, one bad day at work and the next day when you go in, you're a lot more anxious to go in. You think it's going to be a lot more worse. Opposed to if you have a good day the day before, you more look forward to going into work. But when that gets into those higher numbers, it starts to solidify the understanding. So if you had 5 good days at work, if you only work 5 days a week, you've had a good week at work, the next week you're probably going to be looking forward to work or at least not thinking about it negatively. Whereas if your last 5 days of work were terrible, you're probably going to go into the next week thinking that week's going to be terrible. And you're going to treat it as such, and you're going to treat people as such, and that's going to shape your day-to-day life. We do this in all aspects. With people, for example, the last 5 to 10 experiences you have with a person, if they're good or bad, that's going to shape your understanding of that person. Now, you might be able to look at that person as a whole and say, oh, recently they've been A, B, or C. But in the immediate, it will still change how you interact with that person as time goes on. So if they keep turning up late, or if they cancel on you, or if they treat you poorly, whatever it is, it will start to build up that idea, but it's always going to change. So now if they've been treating you poorly recently, and then all of a sudden they treat you nice, well, now it confuses the scale. So now it's like, well, yeah, lately they've been a pain or whatever else, but then recently they've been okay, and then it's that constant shift. But again, that's when you need to step out and look at the person as a whole. Is this just a blip in the radar and it's genuine accident, or you've taken something the wrong way, or they've taken something the wrong way? Look at all of the variables to it. But again, it doesn't stop us from constantly using those recent interactions to predict the next set of interactions. And I think that's the core idea of this rule of mine, which is understand that what you've experienced will paint forward into what you experience next. Because you kind of build a self-fulfilling prophecy in that sense. Like I say, if you've had a bad week at work and you carry in that anxiety, that animosity, and just that bias going into work, you're straight away going to be defensive, and that's going to make other people defensive, and then that's going to make your week bad because it's all confrontational. So it's always going to be this knock-on effect, and it's forever moving. But the more aware you can be of it, the more you can say, okay, cool, this is recently. Step back, look at the bigger picture. And again, that bigger picture is always going to change along with the little picture. But it's about making the best call with the information you've got at any given time. So again, like, you can take it as you're going to the gym, to bring it into another aspect of it. say you've recently started at the gym, and the first few weeks you've gone, you've made a bit of progress, and then all of a sudden you plateau. But you're still going, you're still putting in the work and everything else. Does that mean you stop? No. Like, again, in that change, in that experience, you might have reached a plateau. You might have had a bit of a stalemate. But if you keep going, that progress kicks back in again. It's just further down the line. It might mean that you have to change what you're doing in order to get on that progress again. But it doesn't mean the progress ain't there. And the same will be said with all of life. No matter what you're trying to progress in, you'll reach a plateau. It doesn't mean that there's not more progress to be had. It just means sometimes you have to change what you're doing. Sometimes you need to learn something new. Sometimes you need to develop your own skills. There's loads of things that influence life. But the biggest thing that is going to influence your life is your perspective and your understanding of the things around you. So the more you can be aware of those things, the more you can nudge the flow of your life. And again, it's not to say you're going to control everything that comes your way, because none of us are that powerful. But you can control how you respond to them. And you're not going to be perfect with it. You're going to react poorly in certain situations. But again, it's about how you reflect on those situations, what you take from them, and how you move on after those situations. Just because you had a bad experience, it doesn't mean all of the following experiences have to be bad. I've made many friendships off of bad first impressions. And some of them are some of my closest friendships or some of my deeper friendships. But it's not about what you always see right in front of you. Again, the kaleidoscope of life. Sometimes it's in, sometimes it's out. You've always got to kind of step in close and step back. You've got to see the little picture as well as the big picture. And that 5 to 10 rule focuses on looking at that little picture and saying, look, it is a little picture. We like labels. Labels make things easy for us. So by giving it that label of the 5 to 10 rule, it encapsulates the idea that, cool, I'm just responding to how things are recently. Again, our memories are very short and we act according to our memories. So if we can be more aware of that, we can then nudge ourselves in better directions. But that's something that I'm really working on myself. It helps me. So hopefully it helps you guys. And like I say, let me know what you think about it, because it is a working theory. I'm not by any means a psychologist or a medical professional or psychologist or whatever you want to say. I'm just a guy trying to figure life out. But it is something that I think will help a lot of people, because it's something that helps me and it's something that I talk to people around me about, and it's something that seems to help them. And like I say, from what I've experienced in my life so far, it's true that we are very nearsighted when it comes to our experiences and our opinions of things and people. So look to see where you're being a bit hasty or maybe a bit lax with things. Maybe somebody's been treating you poorly for 10, 20, 30 experiences and you're still letting that go on. Well, if they've done that 30 times in a row, what's to make you think the 31st time is going to be any different? If you look at the little picture, it's negative. And then if you step back and look at the bigger picture, still negative. So there's nothing to tell you that that person's willing to change or about to change. And that's okay. That's their journey. But understand that you're on your journey. So it's your behavior and your actions that are going to affect how your life unfolds. No matter where you are in life right now, you could grab a plane ticket, fly to another country and restart a whole new life. That's possible for everybody and anybody. But we identify so closely with our immediate life. Some people don't. Some people can just at the drop of a hat pick up and travel the world, the nomads. I'm going to do an episode on nomadics coming up, or the idea of nomads anyway. But it is one of those things where we're all different in life. So take the time to look at the little picture and then step back and look at the big picture. And as always, I don't want to keep going in circles about saying the same point, but it really does come down to that really and really think about it yourself for a minute. Like, look at your behavior and the behaviors of people around you. If the last time you see somebody, they give you a big hug and had loads of energy, think about the next time you bump into that person. You're probably going to think, I can't wait to see them. Compared to having a friend that the last time you spoke to them, they just shouted at you and moaned and had a negative experience with you. When that person's next coming around in your life, you're going to be a lot more apprehensive. You're not going to want to have that interaction because you're going to assume it's going to be negative because recently that's what they've led you to believe. But that's only your awareness. That's only your belief. So take the time to step in and step out, do the okie dokie a little bit and see what it does, see how it plays onto your life. And like I say, let me know, genuinely, because like I say, this is only my idea that I've kind of come up with or kind of realized lately. So let me know if there is truth to it, or if not, or if you find truth to it, shall I say, because like I say, to me, it seems to be helping me out. Anyway, I'll wrap this one up. The seed for this episode is try be a bit stricter with your boundaries. Your boundaries on yourself and your boundaries on others. Because it's normally when we break these boundaries or let other people break these boundaries that we start to feel a bit rough and start to feel like we're not being true to ourselves, because we literally ain't. So do yourself a favor and be true to yourself. At the end of the day, it's always going to be you 365, 24/7. So make the time for you and put in the effort to enforce your boundaries and your barriers to get to where you want to be in life. Because there is only one you. And the world needs you to be you. It's got enough of everybody else. So be you. All the best, and I'll catch you on the next one.